all you have to do is whenever you're ready, you can start. So I'll chop out whatever we don't need, and we're actually talking now when we're recording.
I can see that. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session of Riverside, Iowa Paranormal. We actually have some really good stories for tonight. We went to Minnesota to the Noping.
NOPEMING Sanitarium.
Yeah.
That too. That's easy to say, isn't it?
Well, one, I definitely felt like a complete tourist because I had to take pictures of everything. People with cameras were looking at me like I was smoking crack, which I really wasn't. Just had a para hangover. But that place is crazy. What do you guys think of it?
Very, very crazy. It's a lot of anger, a lot of
Well, let's start even from the very beginning. When you pull up to the gate and have to drive up that lane.
yeah, it reminds me of I know I always say this on everything that I see, but anyway, it just reminds me of a horror movie because driving up and all you have is these trees and that they're all around you, and then you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, and you go to the left and it's like, are we ever going to get to the building?
Did you actually keep going and going and going?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Going. And yeah.
Well, I think the craziest thing was when we were driving around and meeting locals, and I think that's one of our favorite part. When we go to every town, we talk to all the locals, and that place during its time was almost its own city. It had a movie theater. It actually had a place where they would play music, and then they were talking about how it went from helping people with TB just to kind of pass away to it ended up being kind of a bad place.
Well, not even
like almost all those places.
Not even just that. Just listening to him talk about how the people that actually worked there, you actually had to test positive for TB to be able to work there. You didn't have the symptoms. You were just a carrier, so they knew you could work with the patients and weren't going to infect anybody else on the outside. So you worked there. You technically had TB. You weren't affected, so you're just a carrier. And then you were there to take care of people that were going to watch die. And you lived, like you said, Michelle, you lived on the site. There was a restaurant. I mean, everything was there. It was its own entity in its own area.
Yeah, like its own little community fenced in. Because it even had the chapel in there.
Yeah, everything was just right there. They took care of every aspect that you could possibly want right there.
Yep.
So now we've driven up, we're in the big open area, and we get ready and we walk in. The first place we go into is the chapel. Yeah. So, what's your feelings there?
I can tell you the chapel was not very welcoming. When we first pulled up, you could actually feel eyes on you through the windows. What's there doesn't want anyone to come. And if you think about it, nobody's been there. They've had, a couple little things go on there, but not a big event. And so it was kind of one of those, when I walked up those first set of stairs, it was like, you're not supposed to be here. You can go now. And my biggest fear was the porta potties because they were in the woods.
You mean the porta potty?
Was there only one? No, there was two.
There was two.
Well, most of the time it only seemed like there was one because so many people were standing around waiting.
Well, yeah, that's
But
true.
I did have to ask the locals, what kind of critters. And they're like, just black bear. But as long as you throw them your coffee and run, you're good. So didn't feel really welcome there either. But I got to say, the people we did meet, the people from Minnesota, what a great bunch of people.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, my gosh. I have never met people so polite.
Yeah,
It was awesome. That's the only time I actually felt like somebody liked us.
Yeah, that's true. Because other places that we go to, it's like, who are you? What are you doing in my town or my city or my building or whatever? And it's like,
And did you notice that almost every time we brought it up when we were in the town, that every time we brought it up that that's what we were up there doing, somebody knew somebody or had the comment about the building. Well, don't go here into this area and do this because, my aunt worked there and she helped, whatever, and watched all these people die and then all this bad stuff. And I wouldn't go in there and there's no way you could even pay me to go to that place. Everybody had something to say about that in every location we went to, whether it was getting gas, getting cigarettes, food, whatever. Everybody knew something about it or had heard or looked at something about it.
Well, yeah, it went from, my mother or my family member worked there and then he died there because they end up getting put there after old age, too.
Yeah.
So that was their whole life. And
Sorry, I got a cold over here.
so it's been, yeah, it was a crazy experience. It really was.
Yeah, and there's so many stairs that you'd be walking and then you'd be into one area, then you go in some other stairs and you're like in a different area, then you'd be going, okay, which way do I go back? Because you can get lost in that building.
Oh, definitely. Especially in the dark.
Yes,
So we went in, we go in, the first place we go in is into the
chapel.
chapel, like I said, and then we go into that first hallway. Now, I don't have the senses and stuff that most people have, but when I'm walking through there going, this ain't right, we should be getting the hell out of here.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like the pressure inside the building was as strong as, I don't want to say that. The pressure that you felt when you walked in the building, just on your, almost like your soul, was stronger than any other location that we've ever been in.
Yeah, it was. It just like something wasn't right. You never knew. I mean, it seemed like something was going to jump out at you, but it's like, wow.
So then that was what we got there on that Thursday night, and we only spent a little over an hour there. And then we went back to the hotel and relaxed. And then we got up the next day on Friday, and that was kind of the first time we've ever done something like this. We got up and we went to the aquarium.
Yep.
That was something I don't know if there's going to be an aquarium in every location we go to, but I think it's something we need to do quite often, is just to burn down and find a location to where we can get grounded and have a little bit of fun on our time too.
Yeah, that was great being there at that aquarium. The different types of fishes. They had seahorses. They had the jellyfish. They had some birds there, and it was very relaxing.
And then we went back that night.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was very, very interesting. Just a lot of activity going on and people getting touched. And
So wait, Kelly, who were you with the first night?
Andrew,
The whole time, or did you switch?
the first two sessions, and then the last two sessions, I believe I was with Ashley.
Okay. Michelle, you were with Beth, right?
I was Beth, yes.
How'd that go?
Pretty freaky, actually. Just like anytime we go somewhere, I don't want to know much about the place to make sure what I am seeing and feeling is correct. And we were down there, and she was, we're trying to get them to do different things, and nothing was happening. And then all of a sudden, I just kept getting pictures of people almost being held back with their mouths sewn shut. And it was really creeping me out because I'm like, I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then finally, I seen one lady who kind of came out. She was almost like in a glow, but she was touching one of our guests, and she was just stroking her hair and everything. But she looked like she was like the grandma type, but more childlike. And so I kept going on, and we were trying to figure out how we could do this. And then when I started seeing the other ones, Beth finally said, "You know where you're at?" And I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Well, you're in the area where the patients with dementia and other mental things were there." Mm-hmm. So that kind of validated. And I'm like, great, if it's not the dungeon in Missouri, you stick me here. But then we were able to change up how we were going to communicate. And the greatest thing happened, and it doesn't happen all the time. We always try it, but it never works. But we took the EMF detectors and we made a line all the way down the hallway. We had one flashlight up on top of a shelf and another one by the other side of the doorway. And I had said, we're going to have a race, and if you are the first one, you get extra pudding. And as soon as I said, on your mark, get set, and when I said go, Each EMF detector went off in sequence all the way to the door. And then Beth's periscope, which she's had for 3 years, has never went off, completely went from red, green to this bright blue, and then the flashlight at the end. I was like a child in a candy store. I was jumping up and down, going, oh my God, it's working, you know? And then one of the guests are like, are you going to give them their pudding now? And I'm just like, did that really come out of her mouth? But to see it do it in the order it went, like somebody literally was running down that hallway to make them. I mean, it was amazing. I think Beth kind of went, wow, okay, what just happened, you know? But when we start changing the way we talk to them, we were able to get the flashlights to go and different things. And then all of a sudden, something invaded my space and was right in my face, and it was nasty. And it was a creepy, mean old nun. And when I mean in my face, it's almost like I could feel her breath on me. And I gotta say, I kind of jumped a little bit. I didn't scream. And I just stood there, and I started explaining what this nun looked like, and I think Beth about fainted because she's like, are you serious? Or do you tell me that's what you just seen? And I'm like, yeah. And then, sorry to say, all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
So
about what time? Because I was right below you at time.
you know, when I go to the dark, I don't remember the times.
Yeah.
Because I tune in so much to what I'm doing. But I can tell you, it was our second session.
So that had to been sometime after, because I think we started, about 9 or so?
Yeah.
And I think so sometime after 10 or so was when...
Yeah, because we did 45-minute sessions. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, she got in my face, and I could just hear screeching, like she was yelling at me because we were in her territory. And she wasn't having it. So... It was almost, I mean, she didn't look creepy like in a scary movie kind of nun. I don't want people thinking that's what it is. I mean, it was just, you know, she just looked really mean and stern. And like she had to have control of everything. And then she ended up going and messing with Beth. And then Beth has this opening she tells everybody. And there's this older gentleman that just kind of popped up, and he was going... blah, 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 you know, and I'm
We've
giggling.
Heard it all before.
I'm giggling.
Hurry up, get through it.
And she goes, why are you giggling? I'm like, I'm not going to say. She goes, why are you giggling? I was like, well, this gentleman standing next to you is going blah, blah, blah. And she started cracking up because she thought she felt someone next to her. And she goes, you know, you're really starting to creep me out. And I'm like, well, when I see them and they say something, you know, I respond. But I did. I got a giggle from it because I could just see his head bopping back and forth, just blah, blah, blah. It was that kind of really helped, though, because then after that, the flashlight was going off and on a little bit. And then I started seeing all the patients were like almost pushed into the one little corridor area. And something was holding them back, and they were like reaching their hands out to us, like they're trying to ask for help. And like I said, their lips looked sewn shut. I didn't see like stitches in their lips, but that's the kind of what I seen. Mm-hmm. And it was like they were trying to cry for help, and you just couldn't. It was like a barrier. And yeah, it was. And then of course I did 2 more trips after that down there, and I'm just to the point I'm going, oh, just can't do this. And then I got gate duty, and so don't like the woods because I don't like the critters because I'm night blind. So you know, a ghost hunter that's night blind, you gotta love it.
She's only night blind if she wouldn't wear. If she wore glasses, she'd be a little bit.
See,
better.
I'd be afraid what I would actually see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but those woods at night were kind of creepy.
It felt like people were staring at us through the woods.
Yeah,
I mean, have you ever seen that? The hills have eyes.
Yes.
That's kind of how it felt. And I got to tell you, everybody that was doing gate duty that night, and explaining gate duty is every time we let people in or out, we had to go all the way to the bottom of the hill and close those gates so this way no one would come in. Mm-hmm. So we would drive down there. As soon as we let one car out and start closing the gate, 2-3 more cars would show up. So you constantly had to open those gates, and it was pretty far between each gate. And all of a sudden I see Beth running. And she goes, while she was there, some lady just kind of walked up to her and says, "Do you remember?" And I've never seen Beth run so fast.
Holy
Wait,
crap.
But
where was she?
So she was closing that first gate, you know, the little
small-
V, the small
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And I just happened to look, and I'm like, I wonder if she knows. And I didn't say nothing, and it was this lady like
so
in
you
this gap.
saw it before it said something to her.
And I'm just sitting there going, I wonder. And then all of a sudden she's coming in, shaking and going, okay, this is too much. She goes, some lady just bent over and said, "Do you remember?" And I'm just sitting there going, Tyler goes, "Michelle, did you?" I'm like, I ain't saying nothing. And then I had Andrew on gate duty, and that same lady came out of the woods. And I'm watching her touching Andrew, and I can see Andrew fidgeting and looking. I'm laughing. And as soon as he gets in the vehicle, "Michelle, you seen it, didn't you? You seen it." And I'm like, "You were being touched?" And he's like, "Oh my God." He goes, "Can you warn people?" And I'm like, "I'm in the car. I'm all good. My doors are locked. You're on your own."
Wait, so you're saying shut, locked doors will stop spirits from coming through?
No, but she was having more fun. She was having more fun with the people at the gate. So it's not like she was coming to visit me. But she did look at us a couple of times, and I just kind of like played it off like I did not see her. So I was seeing a lot more that night, more than I think I wanted to. It's been hard to shake. Let's say I have been getting some spiritual counseling all week because I was pushed to my limit. Because the second night I was with Tyler, and I got pushed, and it got to the point where I was trying to save and had to. So I worked double time, and the things I was seeing was just so horrible that I think I could watch any scary movie now, and it's not going to be nothing because this was way over the limit.
We have clown movies. You want to watch one of those?
Okay, so we're not going to push it that far.
Okay, just thought I'd
No,
ask.
not that far. I know that when I was up, because Beth and I was right up above you, not that far, and I had looked down this one hallway, and I kept looking and shining my flashlight, and then I asked Beth. I touched her, which I scared the crap out of her. I asked her, I says, "Is there someone down the end of this hall that's very angry?" She says, "Yeah." I mean, I could feel his anger, and he kept getting more angrier and more angrier and more angrier, and then all of a sudden I felt it coming towards us, and it was very intense down that hallway. So it was, and then when she was doing some EVPs, she'd send these guys clear down at the end of the hallway and stand in front of the door. And so they had the recorder in their hand, and so she'd tell them to ask these questions. So they asked the questions, but you have to do 15 to 20 seconds in between. So they did that, and then she played it back, and on some of them, there was a lot of growling going on in there. It's like it didn't like the men being down by that door. The women, it didn't really do much.
It's always the men. It's always the men.
Well, and I think some of the growling too, I want to make sure people understand, some of that growling doesn't mean demonic. Mm-hmm. I believe a lot of the growling we were actually hearing was actually patients like moaning because they couldn't open their mouth, and they make those sounds. And if you've ever met patients who have like dementia or some illnesses, when they can't speak or when they get to that point, it's these growls or moans that they make. And I think we were catching a lot of that because at first we thought, oh my gosh, this is just evil. But then when I started seeing more of it, it was making more sense that these patients were really trying to reach out because they wanted help. And I think that's where a lot of our growling came from.
Yeah, and they were probably really scared because they were trying to get our attention, but it's like something was keeping them from trying to get our attention.
Well, not only that, but if you think about it, that building's been shut up for so long, and there was only one other person, well, one other group of people that came through there, and that was the film crew that came through and did it. But there's been so many people that have broke into the place and damaged the place, and graffiti on the walls, and it's just sat and been nasty inside there. That look at all the other things that have happened in that building that weren't even the patients, and how would they have affected the spirits that were in there when maybe they were trying to communicate with the people that came in there, and no one was listening because they were there just to party and have a place to, not get caught doing things.
That's true. That's true.
They fed their anger, and who's to say we weren't being looked at it as, oh crap, another group of people coming in here gonna stir things up again and get it all wound up, and they didn't know almost how to communicate with us at that stage.
Yeah. I know that there was some down in the chapel when I was down there with Andrew. We were all sitting on the floor in a circle, and he had the Phasma box on in the middle, and it was replying back. But also this one lady, she had her legs out, and I could see some of the crawlers come, and there was a crawler that went across hers, but she didn't feel it, and I didn't say anything to her because I didn't want her to jump up and start screaming and stuff. But yeah, there was some crawlers that was in that room.
You were talking about crawlers. Later on the Saturday night one, Brittany and I went out and we did a live feed, and I did some recording. And I'm going to have Landon jump in here because I want you to explain what you saw on the video, because you were watching live, right?
It was actually a couple hours later, because the live was at like 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning that day, so it was about 7 hours later.
Try to explain what you were watching. It's going to be impossible for you to know exactly where we were at in the building, but try to what did you see on her live stream?
Okay, so it was, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes in, and when you watch the video, it starts off with a red filter on the light. And at one point, Brittany had her phone, which was the live video that I was watching, and she stopped, and she'd said something about someone or something coming down the hallway. And I had to rewind and watch the video quite a few times because I wasn't sure if I actually saw what I was seeing. And what I could see is when she stopped and said, "There's something coming down the hall," I saw two crawlers crawling across the floor, and then they stopped, and then there was one that came down out of the ceiling. And then all three of them were just sitting there staring at the group. So that was, to see that on video was a little bit different than seeing them in person, because seeing them on video means that it's more than just someone that would have these abilities that are capable of seeing these things. Whereas if you're in the moment, there might be a lot less people that would actually see them. So when they get picked up on a recording, it's a little bit more validation.
So now I definitely want to go back. I haven't watched the video yet. Have you, Michelle?
No.
I haven't either.
Now I'm going to have to go watch it because I was part of it. And did I catch it on mine? I wasn't on red lens. I was on infrared. Was I, if I can pinpoint that same spot on on my recordings, did I catch anything? That's what I really want to compare now.
Yeah, it was tough because with Brittany's phone, the red light only went so far.
Yeah.
And you could see the crawler. Well, I could see the crawlers crawl up right to about the edge of the light, and then they stopped, and so they were just far enough back that they weren't directly in the line of sight of the camera.
Awesome. I know I got to go back and watch it.
Well, and we actually have that live stream that we can also put on YouTube for our viewers on YouTube to watch, and they can comment and kind of let us know if they've seen it too. So we can just share it over to that if we need to.
That will.
And then definitely when you do your download, it'd be kind of nice to have, side by side to kind of see what was all caught.
Yeah, that would be.
So, I wish Brittany would have been here, had the ability to be here with us to talk about this one, because I know she had some wild experiences. I do know that watching Tyler and Beth and Andrew and Ashley work, just standing off to the side and watching them, number one, is kind of amazing. And watching Kelly and Michelle, you guys, I just sit back and go, okay. And then getting the crap scared out of myself. When Tyler says, one of the guests asks if there's a person standing in the room behind me, and the first thing that comes to my mind is Edinburgh, when Michelle said, "Hey, there's somebody in the room next to you." So I wasn't going to turn around and flash my flashlight because I really didn't want to launch my flashlight and poop my pants all at the same time again. But it was to have Tyler go, "There's somebody standing right behind you," and a guest who was on the other side of the room going, "There's someone standing in that room," and me to go all of a sudden feel a tapping on the back of behind my ear, and he goes, the ladies go, well, the Tyler's going, "He's touching you," and I'm like, "I know, I can feel this," and I really don't want to jump and run, and my brain is going, "Don't run, don't scream, because you'll end up taking a couple guests out because they're standing in your way, and that probably wouldn't be a good thing." So, all in all, I think it was a good experience.
Yeah.
I'm going to go kind of around the room and start with Kelly first. Honest opinion, barring some of the things we know about, you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
would you go back?
No, I wouldn't. Just too much. It really is. And some areas there were some areas we couldn't go into, but still, I don't think I would ever go back.
Michelle?
True.
I do want to go back because there's some unanswered questions. Myself and Tyler were tapping into some things, him doing what he does and what I do, and started getting some little bit of answers, but I still think there's more to it. And I know the nun was really, really ticked off because we were tapping into the right way. So I would like to go there one more time, but I would need Tyler with me to actually help me tap into it further, because we went way beyond just your norm with the guest. We kind of went real far in the dark side. I know that sounded weird, but we really did.
Okay. I would love to go back just because I had a blast.
Yeah.
Again, I don't get the same feelings you guys do, but I would like to go back. I don't know if, honestly, so far, this has probably been the one place that's bothered me the most out of all the locations we've been to. It's been the most active, that other than the Sally House and getting hit with a brick. And that was about the worst, and the first time out with you guys getting scratched. But this one here, just the mental aspect of the whole thing for me was a little drawing and kind of scary. And I think I do want to go back. So,
Well, I would, because there is some areas that I didn't get to see. There is another part that was the basement that I didn't get to see. There's the other side of the building that I never did get to see.
Okay.
So yeah, that I would like to go back to see the rest of the building, to see what it looks like and
see,
stuff.
I wonder if Tyler, Michelle, would ever look at something of going, "Hey, what would it cost to have us come up and just go through it as Ghost Hunts USA as just a group?
And no guests.
No guests, just go through the building and do our own little investigation up there."
I'm not sure, but I know having the guests, I know this sounds bad, but the energy that they bring, I think kind of
yeah.
helps enhance
True.
everything.
Yeah.
Because like when we do our paranormal stuff on the private sector, we go about it a whole different way.
Yeah.
We use each other's energy and we try to solve, a problem and try to clear it. This one is a big mystery, but I noticed the more people we had on Saturday night, the way the energy was floating is when all the dirty secrets were opening up. So, sometimes you have people who might be sensitives and stuff that are there that might not know they are, and it helps us tap in.
Yeah.
And,
right.
they're getting an experience, but they're actually helping us more than what they know. And
true.
so having them kind of helps me because, I'm able to see, there's certain responses and things like that, but I can also tell they're great bait.
Yeah, especially when we put them in front of the door.
So, Landon,
down
I guess
there.
we're going to bring you up as bait next time.
I'm cool with that.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah. But I think if anybody gets a chance, if they go to ghosthuntsusa.com, you can actually go and get information of this place and get tickets. We would love for you to join us there. I would love having you go through some of the building with me and help me out. So if anybody's ever interested in coming and doing an investigation with us, just go to Ghost Hunts USA. We have different locations, so we'll be more than happy to meet you anywhere. But if you definitely want to leave a place and second guess yourself a lot, I would definitely go to Minnesota and check the place out.
Definitely.
Yep. NOPEMING Sanitarium.
It's
That's
hard
not
to say.
I say the spooky place.
The
Yeah,
spooky tuberculosis place on the hill
Minnesota.
in Minnesota
And
by
it is
Duluth.
on a hill.
Duluth.
Minnesota.
But it is on a hill.
Yep.
I mean, it's like I said, when you're going through there, especially when you got to go down to the gate, it's so dark you never know what's going to come out of the woods. Yeah. And it's just creepy.
All right, I think we'll wrap this up. Thanks, guys. We'll get this posted and we'll get it out to everybody. And if you have any questions, you can always look for us. I'm going to get this wrong. Riverside, Iowa Paranormal. Is it .org?
.org.
I can never get that right. Riverside, Iowa Paranormal.org. You can check us out there. Thanks for listening on YouTube, and we'll see you guys in the dark.